You told me more than once to show you my intention. My brain gets blocked at times, but now somehow I'll give you my attention. You've got to know that I ain't a person who understands all the clockwork of our romance.
Hi ladies, and welcome to today's video where you will get some serious cleaning, decluttering and organizing motivation as I am tackling the playroom today. We will be setting up a brand new mudroom, homework area and just getting rid of a lot of toys.
You make me feel so alive.
So this is the before. This is the area where I want to put the new mudroom that we desperately need in this area. And we're just going to be tackling all this mess, which doesn't look too bad, but I promise it gets worse as we are progressing over the next few days. And the first thing I wanted to do is set up the homework area, and right above it is the window that is a window from the kitchen. So our playroom is kind of like an addition to the house. So as I was watching it, my husband was laughing that the trim around the window, the frame, we were supposed to paint that, and it has been on our to-do list for the past probably like 3 years now since we moved in. So let me know in the comments if you have projects like that when you move in, it's like, oh, I'm gonna get to it, it's such an easy thing, and then you never do, because we definitely have few of those on our list. So I am setting up the table. If you saw when you were looking at the before, we had a little IKEA table for our kids, and our kids are way too old for that, especially my son. He is 9, so he doesn't even sit by that green table anymore because it's just too tiny for him. My 5-year-old daughter, she is on the smaller side, so she definitely was using it still. But we figured it's time for a bigger one where they can actually sit down comfortably and do their homework. So we got this one from IKEA. I think it was $149, so it was a really great deal, and we had this table before in our old house, so we know it's a good quality.
Always there in my mind, but I just don't know if I'll dance with the lights on, if you're gone.
So this is day 2. My husband has assembled all the furniture yesterday, so we have like a shoe cabinet, we have a little bench, and this is gonna go on top of the wall. So we're gonna assemble that today. So there were the 3 main pieces for our little mudroom that I want to create in here. I have to wash that net. I think it's called, I don't know what it's called, but I have to wash it. It's very dusty, so I need to take it outside and hose it down. And we're gonna get started with putting all those shoes, sorting through them, seeing what needs to go here, what we use on a daily basis. I have to, this cabinet is going out of here, so I have to sort through all the toys that are there and seeing there's like 2 boxes that are with shoes, so that's gonna be, those are gonna be empty, but I have to do that. And this is looking worse than it did. That table we assembled yesterday, all the cushions are gonna go outside once it dries up a bit, and we just have to clean this place up, get rid of some toys. I'm gonna be rearranging, but yep, it looks more messy than I did yesterday.
I don't really care about love. I don't really care about happy ever afters. Something about you gives me hope. Something about you, yeah. When the sun goes down and the night sky's falling, do you believe in one?
Do you guys have so many shoes, or is it just us? I swear there's just way too many shoes that we have in this house. We came back from a vacation trip not that long ago, so there was a lot of shoes that were purposely for the trip, like for hiking. We needed to have water shoes, so I know those were kind of adding to it. But even though, it just seems like, I don't know if it's because we had some hand-me-downs and they had shoes for like outside, and then for going to, like, you know, when they actually go to a store and we go to the church. So there's just a lot of them. So I needed to decide which ones are gonna stay here and which ones are gonna go somewhere else. So with this cabinet, you're gonna see me kind of trying it out a few times because it's not meant for bigger shoes. Like for example, my rain boots, they barely fit there. Then I found a way to actually fit them in there by bending on top of it. But I needed to decide which ones I use on daily basis, so we can keep it in here, and the rest went in a different area of our house. We have another small area by the side door for our house where we store a lot of shoes, which is also another thing on my to-do list to organize that. But I got through all the shoes, and then the next thing was to set up the second portion of that mudroom, which was the little bench. And in those bins below, I plan to have different things for different types of activities. So one bin is going to be for ice skating lessons, one bin is going to be for my son's soccer, and the third one for now I'm leaving empty. I am not sure what type of sport I'm going to do, or if I'm going to put the bicycle stuff in there. So I'm going to leave it for a couple of weeks and see how that's going to play out once we are actually starting the activities, what makes sense. So the whole idea behind setting up this mudroom was to get myself more organized and for things to be more functional, because that is one of the things that last school year I noticed was just getting out of control. It was taking us too long to get ready. Things were always not in a place where I wanted them to be. So hopefully that's gonna help us be just more functional and more organized as we go into the new school year.
You want dollar bills right now, but you gotta work real hard. I know you want it to be easy, so let your guard down. And I said,
so if you are new here, my name is Marta. Welcome to my channel. I am a full-time working mom. I have, like I mentioned, a 9-year-old and 5-year-old. And on my channel, I just do a lot of things about household management and time management. This video, it was not something that I recorded on a weekend even. As a working mom, I often don't have time to dedicate like a full day or full weekend to a specific project, especially during summer when there is just so many fun activities that we want to do with the kids. So this whole project took a few weeks. It was a few hours one day, few hours another day, and that's just a typical thing for me. Like I said, it's hard to find that huge block of time to do those things. So I hope that kind of offers you some encouragement if you are in the same situation where you cannot spend an entire weekend working on something, that if you spend whatever time you have each day or each weekend, you will eventually see the end result and it's gonna make a huge difference for you. So don't get discouraged, but do just a bit at a time and you're gonna get to your end result.
you can make it too. If not says who, yeah, you can make it too. If not says who, you can make it. You had great patience, but something knocked you out. You felt your limitations and filled your mind with doubt. You wanna stay chill right now and don't let your eyes off the prize. I know you want it to be easy, so let your guard down. And I said, see it in your mind, trust that, have what it takes inside. And I said, see it in your mind, trust that, have what it takes inside, 'cause you can make it too, if not says who.
And this right here is a perfect example of why we need a little mudroom in this space. We have been using the top of our play kitchen thing over here as our storage for like the dog leashes, for sunglasses, for all kinds of things. I mean, you saw gardening gloves, some seeds. I mean, everything was there. So I wanted some space that we can put those things away and not have them visible and not on kids' toys. So I wanted to also clean up all this stuff in here. I got rid of some of the things. It's just, like I said, during summer, we spent a lot of time outside. We spent a lot of time at the pool. So the playroom definitely got neglected. And when you start, I noticed piling up things like using this as a storage, it gets out of control really quickly. Because when you are having like a messy space, it's so much easier to make it more messy. I don't know if that makes sense, but if you have things nicely organized, I find that it's just, you are much more motivated to like, okay, this thing goes into this bin, I know exactly where this one is going. But if you start a little pile somewhere, that pile gets bigger and bigger very quickly because you're just, well, I'll just put it here, I'll just add to this pile. So I have noticed that in my house, anytime I have something disorganized, it gets disorganized even more very, very quickly.
You and me stuck on the ocean now, nothing but waves and this filling in. I wanna dry up but you just keep on going, don't you? I don't even know how we got here, all my reasoning have disappeared. I wanna bury the hatchet and find the way back to our home, our home, our home. We don't have to drift inside this dome. I will not let us fade away. It's not a price I wanna pay, and it's not too late. No, we lost our purpose, chasing all that surplus. You were all that I need. I feel that we can break free. We can still go back there to a place with no.
So the original plan was to empty all those bins and put this little organizer, this little cubby into my son's bedroom. And as I was carrying it upstairs, I noticed that it actually fits perfectly at the top of that landing on the stairs. So the cubby ended up staying in the room. And this is just a little preview of all the stuff I was throwing away. But I decided to use that cubby for just storage of toys because I originally put them in those plastic bins and I had space for them, but I thought, you know what, this is actually going to be a better solution. So this is one of those things that, even though I had a plan in my head of exactly how things are going to go, where I'm going to put things, as I started doing it, I noticed, you know what, I still have toys, I still have things that would be used by my kids, and if I put them in plastic containers and I pile them up, they're not going to use them as often. Versus if I put them in the little bins in a cubby, they're much more likely to grab it and actually play with it. So a little change of plans, I feel like I do that actually quite often when I'm decluttering and organizing. So let me know if you are the same way. And next on the list was organizing all the crayons and pencils and all the things that they would need when they are doing their homework. So I bought this little organizer on Amazon and it has little containers that kind of go around. So my daughter and I were kind of putting everything in, and as you may have seen in my previous video when I was decluttering a cabinet we have in the living room, I did mention that I spent some time going through all the crayons and all those, pencils and stuff like that to put them there. And we ended up bringing everything back in here. So they have one area where they can sit and color and do their homework and all those kinds of things. So It took us a bit of time, it's sped up quite a bit. I wanted to make sure that like all the markers, they were actually working. So that's what you see me doing. We're not coloring, we're just making sure that the markers are working before we put them away. I did end up putting the little stamps into a separate container because they did not fit. Plus, it's not something that they actually use on a daily basis. It's, every few weeks they decide they want to do stamps. So we ended up putting it in one of the containers we had leftovers, and I put it away with other crafts.
With no cares, we can turn this ship around. We can turn this ship around all the way back home. Chasing all that we do not have, chasing all that we don't have, chasing all that we do not have, all the way back home. Chasing all that we do not have, chasing all that we don't have, chasing all that we do not have.
This is how it looks like. It's nice and organized. I do wish it was kind of like a lazy Susan when you can actually spin it. It does not spin, but that would make it perfect. But still, I like having everything in one spot and it's sitting on that table, and they have been using that on a daily basis since we set it up.
Yesterday we could be ourselves. Didn't have much, but nevertheless, we were true to each other. But now we don't even bother. I remember you being hopeful, but the tall waves have worn us down, and slowly we are drowning. That's why you need to come with me, with me, with me. Turn around 180 degrees and cross the sea. I will not let us fade away. It's not a price I wanna pay, and it's not too late. No.
So these are the bins that are gonna go into that cubby that I have mentioned before. I decided to empty a lot of the containers that were just taking a lot of space. So for example, my son, when he was little, he got a lot of those little cars, and we had this organizer that came with one of the sets. And it was working fine, but I thought, you know what, let's just empty it out. It's much easier if it's in a bin. He doesn't play with it much anymore, but sometimes when his cousins are coming over, they still use those cars, so that's why I decided to keep them. And of course, the Mr. Potato, that has been a staple since I think our kids were like 2 years old. So they still from time to time play with it. Like I said, most of the time it's my daughter who's playing with things. My son will still play with like the dominoes and the magnet tiles. I think that's what they're called. But most of those things are for my daughter and for the nieces and nephews that come over to play. Now this cabinet over here, that one was the one I was dreading the most. It just has a bunch of unrelated and little things that just end up in those drawers. So a bunch of little toys. I tried to get rid of a lot of it. My daughter was sitting next to me. You don't see her, but she was there basically most of the time when I was cleaning those cabinets out. So she did keep some of it, but a lot of it, when she was looking or not looking, I just kept throwing away because I know they don't play with it anymore. And it's just ridiculous to have like 2 drawers full of random things that they don't even know what's there, and it's all it is clutter. It serves no function whatsoever. So I definitely did some progress cleaning up that cabinet.
Do you ever call back? Do you ever pick up on that phone? Stop pretending I don't know you're home. I guess not. Do you ever respond? Explain it all again, again, again. Tell me why you don't wanna be friends. I guess not.
And as I was going through those drawers, I wanted to make sure that I organize it in a way that it makes sense. So that first drawer, that one is basically all the things that we have for our game table. So you see that in on the other side of the room later on. It's basically like a table when kids have, they can play the pool. They can play ping pong. There's all kinds of games that come with it. So there's a lot of pieces to it. So that's first drawer was for that. And in the second drawer, the one I'm emptying right now, this is where I decided to put all kind of I don't know, learning games, if you will. So they have like a lot of alphabet cards and playing cards. They have different puzzles that go in it. Not the typical puzzles, those are kind of like an alphabet puzzle that you create like an animal with it, I think. I think we have a giraffe and a cow and something else. So I did that in this drawer, and the last drawer, the third one on the bottom, was for basically like the little toys. And so that's kind of how I organized it. I wanted to make sure that each drawer had its own specific things to go with it, because I think that helps a lot when we are cleaning up. You know exactly where to put it, and it prevents like this random pile up of stuff in the drawers that I am dealing with right now. Now those big bins, those are mainly for my daughter, for all her dolls, which she has 1,000 kinds of dolls. And she kind of alternates, I feel. Sometimes she only plays with the Barbies, the smaller ones, and sometimes it's only the bigger dolls. It kind of like she goes through phases. But lately it has been Barbies, and she has a lot of like shoes and accessories and things for her playhouse. So we were trying to figure out like the best way to have it organized. So I did get her like big bins for, for the actual Barbies, which later on I actually put all the Barbie stuff in one of the big drawers in that white cabinet. And the reason for that is because it's right next to the playhouse. So, it's just easier for her to open the cabinet and open the drawer and get all the toys. And the big bins were for the bigger toys, and for the clothes for bigger toys, I put in her like dress up clothes in there as well, because if they were in the drawer kept getting stuck because there was just too much of it. You can see it in that drawer. So originally I was putting it in, and like I said in the beginning of this video, I went back and forth a lot. I put it in one drawer, then I went to the cabinet, and I figured, you know what, it's gonna be better if I switch it up. So a lot of those situations were happening in this decluttering project. But ultimately, it's just how it works. It's never, something, you see in your head, but in reality, it's not actually working. And that's also the same thing you're gonna see, that even though I was, done with the playroom, it was not 100% done, in a sense, some of the areas were still empty, like in the mudroom, that cabinet or that shelving on the top. I had 2 bins over there, and the rest was empty because I did not figure out yet how I'm gonna use it. Here you see all the stuff we are throwing away, which there was also 2 garbage bags from a previous day, so it's a lot of things we threw away. But back to my point from before, that's one of the things I was struggling with before. When I was finishing up with the project, I wanted to be 100% done. So I would buy bins, I would buy different organizational things and set it up. And then when I was starting to actually use the space, it came out that it's not exactly how I want it, or it's not functioning the way I had it in my head. So I'm kind of, taking a step back. I am not, buying the bins. I am not buying the organizational stuff for that area. For the little cubby, I have like 3 more spaces in there. I'm leaving it empty because I don't know if I'm gonna put books in there or if I'm gonna buy more, more bins. I haven't decided yet because I want to start using it and see what tends to end up in that space. So then I can buy appropriate sizes, appropriate things to actually keep it organized. So let me know if you are that way or if you more prefer to have it all done and just know once you decide on a system, that's just the system you're going to be using. So let me know in the comments how you do that.
Cause you want dollar bills right now, but you gotta work real hard. I know you want it to be easy, so let your guard down. And I say, see it in your mind, trust that have what it takes inside, cause you can make it too. If not says you, yeah, you can make it too. If not says you can make it. You had great patience, but something knocked.
And this is that game table I mentioned before. And it just had a lot of like dust and different things on it. It's because when we were decluttering and we were cleaning, a lot of things, were ending up on that table. I wanted to make sure I vacuumed that. This area, the stairs, is another area that needs to be painted, like the white portion of it. That's another thing that needs to go on our to-do list to clean up. The bin, you see the blue bin, this has like a lot of outside toys, and this would typically go outside, but our puppy is just, crazy and would destroy this in a minute. So we want to buy another like actual storage container for outside that we can lock so she doesn't get into it. But for now, it's just, it's staying where it's safe.
You out, you felt your limitations and filled your mind with doubt. You wanna stay chill right now and don't let your eyes off the prize.
And here we are, finally in the end. We have a much more functional space, much less things. It probably doesn't show as much on a video, but believe me, you saw those bags. We threw away a lot of the stuff. A lot of the things are gonna go to either my nephew or niece if they want it. If not, they're gonna get donated. This area right here, this is where we have a lot of like containers on the left. That's where the toys that they don't play with on everyday basis ended up with. And I'm assuming over the next year or two, a lot of those things are gonna be donated anyway, because my daughter is gonna be 7 or 8. Actually, she's almost 6. So yep, it's like a never-ending process with the playroom. As kids get older, they have different needs, they play with different things, so it changes all the time. This is the Mudroom. One of the things I really want to do is, I don't know, do something with those magnets. My husband probably will not let me, but I don't know, it just seems very cluttered when I look at it right now. Everything is organized and those magnets are creating a lot of clutter for me. So I also need to buy a little organizer for the umbrellas over there. But overall, yes, much more organized and functional. So I hope you got a lot of motivation from this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.
I know you